Hello, everyone. I wish you all a very happy new year. And I would like to welcome you to the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development event focused on the LAC region. Now, although we are focusing on the LAC region, this is going to be interesting for everybody else as well. And the event today is hosted by WWF, who is one of the managing partners of the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development. We have so far received over 100 applications for the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development already. And we have received over a dozen really interesting projects from LAC. So what we're trying to do today is to reach out to a lot more interesting and a lot more eligible projects for our fund. And we would like to inform you and we would like to interact with you. And hence we are gathered here today. I am Aditya. I am an investment associate working for World Startup, which is a global platform for entrepreneurship based here in the Netherlands. Quick run through the program here today, followed by me. We're gonna have Aaron Vermeulen, who is the head of the Green Finance Unit from WWF Netherlands, going to kick off the proceedings as the main host of today. Followed by him, we will have Fabricio from the WWF Brazil. He is also the lead for the LAC region for DFCD. And then we will have Etienne from Ecoterra. He is a model project that we would like to see for the fund itself. I am very excited to be talking about the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development for the next 1 hour. First of all, I would like to welcome Aaron Vermeulen, the Green Finance Unit head and also the main representative for WWF for the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development. Aaron, welcome.
Thank you, Adi, and hello to everyone in the Latin America region and also to other regions. Very excited to have the second launch of the opportunity window of the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development, which is really our effort to engage partners to work with us and find potential investable projects that could be a part of the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development. So can you show the next slide, please? So the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development is operating a bit more than a year. It was launched November 2019. It's a fund that contains 160 million euros seed funding from the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the aim to mobilize over $500 million private capital to projects and companies that have a positive impact on climate change, climate adaptation and mitigation. And in the next slide, I would like to show you that this fund consists of 3 facilities. So WWF and SNV, two non-profit organizations, we run the so-called origination facility, which is really the project motor and is doing the the incubation and identification of potential investable projects and companies. And then we have the water facility, which is an investment facility which is run by climate fund managers. And then we have the land use facility, which is managed by FMO, the Dutch Entrepreneurial Bank. Next slide, please. As I said earlier, we aim to have a positive impact on climate. So on one hand, projects need to contribute to a lowering of the greenhouse gas emissions. But I think what's also innovative about this fund is that we also put special attention to climate resilience, climate adaptation. And we aim to do that for climate resilient land use and ecosystems, water supply and sanitation, and food security. Next slide, please. We have 4 investment themes. One is water, the second one is forests, the third one is agriculture, and the fourth one is environmental protection. Next one. Well, central, as I mentioned earlier, is the private sector angle to what we're aiming for. So we're looking for private sector partners that are seeking investment. We are looking for private sector partners who have a solid track record and a good team to run the business, who are committed to environmental and social protection and environmental and social safeguards, who are well connected to the stakeholders in the landscapes where they are operating, and also who are willing and able to put skin in the game, so are willing to invest with us in the project under consideration. Next slide, please. What's also central, in addition to the private sector angle, is that we're looking for bankable opportunities. So bankable in our world means that we are developing models and blueprints that are attractive for mainstream investors, banks who are out there. So the projects and companies that we're looking at should have a clear revenue model, should be a profit-seeking enterprise, generally also the ticket size, so the minimum investment that our partners are looking at is 5 million euros and more. If it's a very innovative and instrumental project, we can make exceptions to that minimum ticket size, but generally that's the ticket size we're looking at. Next slide. Then there are a couple of criteria that determine the eligibility of the project or the company that we can consider. So we can only invest in companies and projects that are located in DAC countries, and I'll show you a map after this. Then also the project should have a main objective to contribute to climate change, mitigation or adaptation. It should have a clear impact on the most vulnerable groups in these countries. It should be aligned with the national policies on climate. It should be a commercially viable project. And also we don't want to compete with existing commercial financiers in these countries. So there should be financial additionality of the project, and the risk return profile that we are investing in should not be the risk return profile that is already, the existing commercial sector is picking up. And of course, we have a blacklist of activities that we cannot invest in. Next slide, please. So this is the map of the countries where we can provide investment. So these are all the DAC countries determined by the OECD. The countries in green are the Dutch ministry focus countries. So we are held accountable to invest minimum 25% of the 160 million in these countries. So if you have a business plan coming out of these countries, we will pay extra attention to that. Next slide. In this session, there will be an example shown of a venture that we really like. But in this blueprint guide, there are 10 and more examples given. So please download this from the internet and have a look. So you could be inspired on what type of businesses and projects we're looking at. Next slide. So I'll dive a little bit more into the application process. So I think at the end of this meeting, Adi will share a link with you. And this link contains a so-called intake form. That's a form that you can easily fill in within an hour to indicate what's your business idea about, what is the ticket size, what country you're located in. And then we do a quick scan of on the eligibility, and also we will scan and assess what is the maturity of your project. And I'll come back to that in the next slides, because we have grants available for early stage projects, and we have grants available for more developed stage projects, so called stage 1 and 2. So depending on our assessment, you will be invited to fill in a stage 1 or stage 2 form. That will take a little bit more time from your end. Our experience, it will take between one day and 1 or 2 weeks. And then we will go through your stage 1 or 2 forms and approve it or not accept it. And then pretty soon we will go into the contract arrangements. Next slide, please. So this is our stage gate process that we developed within the origination facility. So stage 0 is a potential business idea from a company. Based on that idea, you will populate that intake form. Then we will make an assessment whether it fits in stage 1 or 2. In stage 1, we have a average grant size of around 50,000 euros. We can provide that grant to non-profit and for-profit companies. No co-financing is needed in this stage. And we expect you to finish this stage in maximum half a year. Then stage 2 is more intended for a full-scale business plan development. Ticket size is around 300 euros grant. We can only deploy that grant to companies, so private sector entities. We expect 25 to 50% co-financing of that stage, and the maximum duration of that stage is a year. And then after stage 2, we will put you in contact with our preferred investors, CFM or FMO, and have a discussion between you and the investor whether the investment will take place and whether they will provide de-risked financial instruments. In short, you can enter directly into stage 2. You can also skip stage 1 and go directly to stage 2. But if you have a business idea that is investor ready, we can also directly put you in touch with the investors. Next slide. So with that, I have tried to give you a very short overview of what DFCD is and how it works. The landing page that will be shared with you contains more information how to apply, but also we have a half-hour Q&A after this. So please feel welcome to ask any question you like. Over to you, Adi.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for elaborating a little bit more on DFCD, the process and the criteria that we use, and also giving a little bit of indication of what kind of projects we are looking for. I have shared a link in the chat, so that is where you can find more options, more information about your eligibility and so on later on. I see some questions in the Q&A option, people asking, is my country a fit? So this is something that you can see also in this link. But I would like to also nudge you a little bit to ask more open questions in terms of the industry focus, something that you are doing to understand a little bit more of the kind of problems that DFCD is solving as well in the Q&A. I'd like to now call upon Fabricio, who is the WWF lead for the LAC region. Fabricio, we have over 150 people joining us from the South American region, and I believe a couple of others might also have interesting projects for the region, but also for DFCD in general. But you're going to focus a little bit more on the LAC region and the challenges and what DFCD can bring. So please take it over from me.
Sure. Thank you, Adi. Thank you all for your time and attention. I don't have a slide deck to share with you, some thoughts. So what is the opportunities that DFCD brings to the region, and what the challenges that we can solve with the DFCD investments? At this very moment, many economies in Latin America are rebooting, resuming their activities or preparing to shut them down again. Our region has been severely hit by this global pandemic, The impact of COVID-19 showed the world and to us Latin Americans how vulnerable, exposed our lifestyle and our economy are. Well, it's no different with climate change, especially for us here in Latin America. We need to use this hard lesson that we're still trying to assimilate to prepare for the challenges which are already upon us, imposed by the changing of our climate patterns. We need to reduce our exposure, eliminate our vulnerabilities, and start adapting to this new reality and contribute as we can to avoid it. In my opinion, that is what the DFCD is about. Our opportunity at this so unique moment to introduce new value chains, new products, new foods, new ingredients from the forest produced by the people of the forest, for example. An opportunity to rescue what our ancient civilizations did in the past: sustainable agriculture, efficient water management, better use of our soils, genetic diversity, and natural resources. For example, one of the lesser-known consequences of the contact between the old and the new world was the impact of new ingredients coming from Americas. What would be of the Italians without our tomatoes, or the Belgians and Swiss without our chocolate, of the world without our potatoes, corn, rubber? We still have so many more of these ingredients to present to the world, things that we know well, but they don't. I remember as a kid growing in the south part of Brazil, I never heard about açaí, for example. It took two guys from California to visiting Brazil to surf and discover the açaí, and began a startup in California to present açaí for the surfers of the California. And suddenly, in 2 or 3 years, açaí was a global hit. Now, at least in Brazil, açaí is the second most important product for the Amazon economy. We have so many of those ingredients to be discovered to the rest of the world. Another opportunity is that we can grow most of our food here in Latin America in a new, more eco-efficient way. Etienne will show us in a couple of minutes how this could be done. But basically, using natural ecological succession and agroforestry systems, we can produce sustainable in a sustainable way to the world and to our own markets. This is some of the projects that we are interested in the region with DFCD. Also, a large part of our population don't have safe access to the water and sanitation. This is also important projects that DFCD can support and develop. In this way, we can restore our landscape and we can improve the income of our people and ensure that future generations have better financial conditions to live, better soils to grow their crops, and safe water, biodiversity, and access to the markets. Perhaps the final piece of this equation here in Latin America to really propel our economies to a green economy or a bioeconomy is appropriate financing at scale. So this is the opportunity that I see for Latin America with the DFCD, in partnership with local investors and financial institutions, to make them understand that there are great deals in biodiversity, poverty reduction, and sustainable development. So I hope I can give you more examples in QA, and we have a huge part of this webinar to interact with you. And Etienne will show a great example what we're looking for in Latin America and Caribbean. And thanks again for your attention. Back to you, Adi.
Fabricio, thank you very much. Very fascinating how you made the connection with the Latin American region to the global economies. Yeah, we are indeed going to hear a little bit more from you during the panel discussion. I saw there was a remark from Alberto in the Q&A. Well, the 100 projects that we have right now are from the origination facility. So the other facility have more projects as well. And the later part of your question is quite interesting. I will bring that up in the panel discussion. All right. I would like to I'd like to give this opportunity again to Etienne, who is going to present his organization Ecotierra, but also going to focus a little bit more specifically on Café Salvanorte, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which is a model project that we are looking for DFCD. So this is just an example, like Aaron mentioned earlier. In the blueprint and the link that I shared in the chat, you can find a little bit more information about what kind of projects are eligible. Etienne, over to you.
Thanks. So yeah, I'm Etienne Desmarais, co-founder of Ecotierra and CEO of Ecotierra. So first I will present a little bit Ecotierra, and then we'll switch to the project, Café Salvanorte. So Ecotierra is a social business, a private social business driven by a mission, which is to work with small farmers to responsibly use the land in order to accelerate community sustainable development, obviously fighting climate change and reducing land degradation. It's a company based in Canada with offices in Peru, Colombia, and Ivory Coast. And we come from 20 years of works with smallholders, farmers, with cooperatives, and mainly in the coffee and cocoa value chain. In the next slide, please, we'll see a little bit more about what we do exactly as Ecotierra. So Ecotierra, we work in the project design. So we work with co-ops, with collective organizations, can be co-ops, association, committees of farmers, to prepare projects. So through workshop, through a lot of meetings, because we consider that it's very hard for mid-sized co-ops to prepare a proposal for an investment fund, for a financial partner. So we work with them to design the project. Then we make them, let's say, the matchmaking with investors, off-takers, maybe cooperation agencies, with a lot of different sources. Historically, we did a lot of this. And we participate in the project operation after this. So it can be with team on the ground, it can be maybe on the monitoring reporting side, it can be maybe on the ESG side. So there's always a lot of gap we need to fill to be sure that the investor world can talk with the farmers world, which are very different. And we also develop over years a sales team, because it's not, in our experience, not enough to rely on the market. So if we will invest in, let's say, 1,000 hectares of new coffee, shade coffee, you need to look for the market. It's not enough to have maybe a partnership with one off-taker. So we develop a sales team called Eleva Finca, basically to reach the market with better, maybe better services, better traceability, and to reach the market directly. So we sell coffee, cocoa, and carbon credits. And now we are also fund manager. Yeah, in the next slide, as Urapi, we are fund manager. So we create 2 years ago the Urapi Sustainable Land Use Fund. So to also be able to finance project with this new investment vehicle. So Urapi is designed to invest in collective organization to increase land production with sustainable land use, agroforestry, forestry, only in Latin America, with a long-term approach up to 15 years in project. In the next slide, you will see the effect of combining Ecotierra and Urapi. So we think together it's a good solution to reach some sustainable development and build return for investor. Urapi, it's a private vehicle. We need to pay back with good returns. Then on the next slide, you can see the pipeline. It's not that easy to build a pipeline in Latin America for us, because as I said, we're not expecting to receive proposals. We work with mid-sized co-ops. So we have at this moment 2 projects already invested, and we're working on some more. But they're coming to the Café Salvanorte in the next slide, which is the example that I want to present today. So Café Salvanorte, it's first of all, it's an alliance between Urapi, Ecotierra, and 6 co-ops of northern Peru, Cajamarca and Amazonas department or region now. and this alliance was built after 18 months of design and coordination with the co-ops, up to the General Assembly of every co-op. And the co-op aimed to deploy, let's say, an holistic strategy works on land use, conservation, value chain, access to market, etc. On the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the baseline. So first, in this region, there's already a lot of coffee, a lot of shade coffee, but at the farm level, the baseline, it's almost always the same. So low yields of average cupping quality coffee. So obviously there's good coffee, but there's a lot of, let's say, normal cupping coffee. So the farmer reached the market with low yields. He managed to build, let's say, low revenue, so he cannot reinvest. So on the at the farm level, we see a lot of annual crop and livestock. So with still a lot of slash and burn, lots of unsustainable land use, and the co-ops to be able to provide coffee to a bigger and bigger market every year. They develop themselves by adding more and more members instead of developing the production capacity of their actual members. So we developed the project with this idea to make it possible for the co-op to invest at the farm level to increase coffee quality and quantity at the farmer level. In the next slide, you'll see what's a normal, almost a normal project structure for Urapi and for us. So it's not an easy thing. It's not a simple thing, because if it was possible to invest at the farm level, the bank already did it in the last year. So we need to develop new ideas. We need to innovate. So that's basically the structure of the Café Salvanorte project. So first, it's built on 3 components. The first one is sustainable land use. That's our real goal. So all the project is built to be able to invest at the farm level. We do so by investing through the co-op. So we make loans to the co-op, long-term loans. So the co-op can finance a microcredit mechanism up to the farmers, with obviously a lot of eligibility criteria, a lot of conditions. And we co-manage part of this deployment. And the money is used mostly to renew old coffee farms and to plant new coffee, always shade coffee, always with organic practices on forested land. But it's not enough to do only this part. We need to reduce risk. We need to capture more value to build a return. So we developed the value chain reinforcement component. In this case, based on 2 main activities. One is infrastructure. So we are building a mill to give better services to the co-ops, increase coffee quality, allow the co-op to control the delivery of the coffee up to the market. And we also develop Eleva Finca, as I said, in this project. We strengthen Eleva Finca to support the sales of the co-op up to the final buyers. And then the third component, building on the impacts of the sustainable land use, basically we develop also a carbon project to generate high quality carbon credits under VCS with 2 goals. The first one, obviously, to generate more inflow of money up to the co-op, mainly to invest on technical assistance, but also to create good indicators. So we strongly believe that the carbon credits are very good indicators to show the zero deforestation or the net reforestation or the net zero deforestation, as everybody's talking about. So we can prove it with third parties monitoring based on VCS. On the next slide, you will see it's all about impacts, obviously. So we want to monitor the impact, want to be able to talk about the impact. So we use the SDGs. We also develop internally a platform, a project management platform called Minca, kind of software which enable us to show the results to our stakeholders, investors, coffee buyers, and show some traceability between the impacts and the products, and so increase the value of both. the last one slide, just to say that basically what we do with the direct goal to reach the smallholder farmers and to be part of the change at this level. No? So yes, thanks all.
Thank you very much, Etienne, for going more detail into your project, especially the Café Salvanorte, and the kind of impact that you're having on the local vulnerable groups, but also on the environment. So that was really nice to see. So this is the part where we also open up the panel discussions. So I'd like to ask all the three panelists that we just heard from to unmute yourself. And I'm also gonna remind the audience that you can still ask questions to the panelists. The chances are that if you're asking questions a little bit more broader rather than specifically for yourself, I can also bring it up in the panel discussion. But otherwise, feel free to ask whatever questions you have. We're happy to answer them. The first question that I would like to ask would be to Aaron. There's a question from Paula. She would like to know, can you clarify the aspects of co-investment across different stages? And if I can add something to that, because we also talk about financial additionality, how does that work in correlation? So the correlation with financial additionality and the co-investment.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Thanks for that question, Paula. And well, to start, I don't think they're really related. So maybe I didn't make myself clear enough, but so the origination facility is a grant facility which provide grants to early stage development of business. And in stage 2, where we provide ticket sizes up to 300,000, we expect a co-investment or equity from a company to develop that business plan and to develop the feasibility study up to 50% of the total size. So let's say you're asking for a $500,000 feasibility business development phase. We will provide in principle only 250,000 of that. So that's the grant part. And then in the investment space, our investors, CFM and FMO, will deploy a part of the 160 million to invest in high-risk tranches of the deal. But they will also invite other investors and maybe also equity from your company itself to invest in the deal itself. There are very few investments in this world that are done by one investor only, so it's always a consortia of other investments. And what the investment facilities do is really develop blended finance instruments, de-risk the investment for commercial finances, and invite commercial finances to the deal. And maybe that leads me to the answer on financial additionality. So we are looking at investments that are generally too risky, too low return for commercial investors only. So we will provide the investment facilities to de-risk these deals and invite commercial investors locally or internationally to these deals.
So if I can add another question to that, Aaron, Shan Shao from Okra BV would like to know what is the business model behind DFCD, or if there's a business model.
Well, I mean, from as I said, it's 160 million grant from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands. So that's a grant. So there's no business model in the concept of DFCD. It's a part of the development aid provided by the Netherlands government. For FMO and CFM, it's a part of their the pipeline that we develop is a part of their pipeline, and so it's a part of their business model, which is banking and investment. and they are using the 160 million grant to de-risk the deals for their own business and keep them profitable as well. And the overall concept of DFCD is we are trying to merge profitability and hence invite the private sector together with impact on the ground and mitigating the impact of climate change.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Shanshao, I hope you got your answer to that question. The next one to Fabricio. We have over 60 people from non-profit organizations joining us. And Aaron did indicate in his presentation that the organizations that are receiving the financing from DFCD have to be a private entity. So can you elaborate a little bit more on what role you see for non-profits to play in this?
Sure. I think that all non-profit organizations working with, for example, sustainable agriculture in Latin America has private partners as well. So perhaps it's a good idea for these organizations to cope with their private partners to be able to assess the funds for DFCD. It's important to have a return of investments in this to apply for a project for financing for DFCD. But actually, in the grant phase, the organizations can receive the grants to develop the business case to their partners as well. So yeah, it's important to have a private partner. But organizations can apply as well.
Yeah, to answer your question, so we are also, to add to what Fabricio just said, we are receiving quite a few projects that are being submitted as a consortium. So in the first stage of the DFCD, you could apply without having this private entity known already. However, as you progress in the grant, especially in the stage 2 and stage 3, it is sort of mandatory that you have a private organization that can take this investment. And the next question is actually to Etienne. Etienne, can you share a little bit more about how you financed the project with Café Salvanorte and the history of it?
Yes. So first of all, it's very painful. No, we worked for years creating the URAPI Sustainable Land Use Fund. We first tried to do it with cooperation agency, but it was not totally aligned because let's say for agroforestry, we need time. So we want an investor to be able to be a partners over at least 10 and maybe up to 15 years. So we need time. So we achieved with this. We end with this idea to create URAPI, and we build URAPI with 3 initial limited partners, or 3 first investors. One is the Land Degradation Neutrality Fund, with this mission to invest in land degradation, obviously, and some pension funds here in Canada, Fonds d'Action between them. And so we created URAPI as a new vehicle to enable us then to finance projects like Café Salvanorte. URAPI is a little bit different because URAPI can invest alone, so without co-investor, but it's only private money, only reimbursable money. So we need to develop. In Café Salvanorte, we cannot, let's say, works with the smallest co-ops or the more fragile co-op. We need to work with mid-sized co-op, already with already access to market, already profitable. So, and we need to build good returns for the investors. So it's not, I think it's not the perfect model to do a lot of projects in Latin America, but it's a good model at this moment that we're being able to achieve only with private investors. And yes, and the investment, to be sure that we reduce risk. So we need to build, as I said, new inflows of money within the project. So we need to create new value to be able to capture part of it, because we cannot build returns by taking this money from the pockets of the farmers. It's not possible. So we need to identify opportunities to generate profitability and then invest in tools or assets that will generate this kind of profitability. So we can also use this new inflow of money belonging to the co-ops as collateral for our risky investment on the ground. And so we have also to diversify the legal risk. So we invest in equity, in loan. The returns are billed with dividends, capital gain, interest. So we diversify everything to reduce risk, and we generate as much as possible of new inflows. So from services, carbon credits, anything we can, because we cannot take land as collateral. We cannot do mortgage with small farmers. We cannot. So we have to innovate with new ideas. No, right. So it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm sure you know it.
No, definitely. But also, well, I was reading up a bit more on climate investments recently, and I also read BBC was quoted saying that 2021 is actually the first time we have more financing for renewable energy and climate development when compared to fossil fuels. So there are some good signs for this field, but then, of course, I do acknowledge there's quite a long way to go still. Etienne, what is next for Ecoterra? Do you have new and upcoming projects? Are you going to build on the existing projects? What is the plan? What does the next 2 or 3 years look like?
We still have to deploy 2 more projects in Latin America. So we are always looking for good project idea, good opportunity to partners also with other investors. So we can invest alone with Urapi, but we don't necessarily want to. So it's always better to partner. So yeah, we have to deploy 2 more projects, and then we'll try to, I think, go ahead with another fund, but maybe with more option to work with smaller co-ops or with to include more farmers within the model. Or more
good to hear, Etienne. Perhaps this is also a call of action to the other attendees over here. If you see that as an opportunity to collaborate with Ecoterra, perhaps you can also receive support from DFCD as well. So please look into that. The next question I would have is actually to Fabricio. Fabricio, we have been looking at a couple of projects from the Latin American region, specifically from Brazil. Perhaps you can give a couple of examples on the kind of projects we are looking into and you find interesting so far.
Sure, Adi. Several projects coming from the Amazon region. One of my favorites is a chocolate factory that is using natural cocoa from the region, grown by native and traditional populations there. So this is the kind of project that was mentioned of natural native ingredients. There is also a project in South Bahia, people planting native hardwood to provide tropical hardwood to the market and restoring the landscape as well. So this is another interesting project. I would extrapolate from Brazil to Latin America. I believe that one of my most different and disruptive projects proposition comes from a black soldier fly farm in Costa Rica. So they're growing flies to provide better animal protein for feed industry and avoiding with that fisheries, predatory fishery for fish protein. And also they are treating organic residues as they grow the flies. So this is the kind of project that they're reaching us. Everyone is welcome to submit their ideas, and this is that DFCD is about, to look with that different approach to our old problems, to solve our old problems here. This is just a couple of them. There is a lot more. Well, I would not take our time on listing all of them.
That's good, Fabricio. Thanks for elaborating on that. Aaron, there is a question in terms of the ticket size. So we talked about the 5 million ticket size. And There's a question about, is there a need for an anchor investment, or how are these deals usually structured within DFCD?
So it's, I mean, it very much depends on the company. It depends on the size of the company. It depends on the revenue stream, the cost recovery. So the type, I mean, we're looking both at debt. We're looking both at equity. Guarantees can also be provided. We even have examples where we invest in fund structures. So different types of financial instruments. We can be the cornerstone investor and as well, or we can join consortia which already have a cornerstone investor. But so the 5 million is more reflecting on the total investment needs to scale up the company or to start the company. And then our consortium can pick up a share or the full size of that investment.
Right, Aaron, perhaps developing on that, or maybe in an example. So if there is then investment from a consortium, what percentage of the 5 million investment or more do you expect from the consortium and other partners? What percentage of money could DFCD bring in the grant stage?
In the grant stage or in the investment stage, Adi?
I think it's good to elaborate how it works in different stages.
So as I said, and maybe you want to show this slide with the different stages again. I don't know if that's possible. So in stage 1, we can provide a small grant up to 50,000 euros. That can be 100% provided by the origination facility. And then when we go to stage 2, we go up to 50%. Total grant that we can provide is 300,000. And then in stage 3, which is the actual investment stage, it's really a discussion between the company and the investor, so FMO and CFM. And I think it really depends on the business case and the business and the consideration. So I heard FMO saying shares of investment between 25 and 30%, which they can pick up, but then they also need equity and debt from the company itself or other investors. And for CFM, that will be different. It's also important to mention that FMO and CFM have the right of first refusal, but we can also pass the project or the company on to other investors if it's not aligned with the mandates of CFM and FMO.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. So that was a question from Nicolas Pascal. I hope your question is also answered.
Adi,
there is a question about do projects that are mainly focusing on research, would they be eligible for DFCD? Because I think some of them in the audience are focusing on that, and perhaps we can also specify about projects that are focusing on skill building, Aaron.
Well, I mean, research or skill building or capacity building can be a part, but if that would be the only activity involved, it will be a hard sell. So in the end, we want to see the objective of the activity or the project that we can provide a grant for should be an investment. So if that research will lead, will be part of a feasibility study for enterprise, yes, we could do that. But if it's a standalone research that might not result in an investment, it will be hard. Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron. A specific question to Etienne. Somebody from the audience is interested to know if Ecoterra, the projects in Peru and Colombia, if you're also focusing on the attention to the problem of heavy metals.
Yes, obviously, especially in cocoa, because if there's too much cadmium in cocoa, you cannot reach the market. it will be impossible to sell the product actually to maybe the biggest markets of the world. So yes, we have to do some soil analysis, and then if there's cadmium, as an example, we'll have to work with the technical teams, local technical teams of the cooperatives to look if there's a way to reduce it. But if there's heavy metals, which will make it impossible to reach the market, we'll not be able to invest, obviously. Basically, it's not possible to produce this product. But there's a lot of new technical solutions, so we'll be well aware and very interested to see if there's solution.
Thanks, Etienne. Helena and Lara, who have been translating this event for us. I know quite some technical terms have been used. I hope you're doing all right. I'd like to also ask Aaron and Fabricio, do you have any questions that you would like to ask to Etienne?
You're putting me on the spot here. Actually, I've always been a great advocate of the Salvanorte project. I really like it. But maybe Etienne, maybe you can give some insight how it all started, this project in Peru. How from because that is also something we try to get a better understanding in the origination facility. How do you find the deal, and what are the first activities that you undertook to get that started?
Yeah, so basically it's based on our journey, I can say. Ecotierra, now we're working since 20 years with cooperatives in Latin America, mainly in Latin America, and mainly in cocoa and coffee. So now we know a lot of cooperatives. We worked for years in northern Peru and other parts of Peru. So it's based on our networks of contacts at the beginning. And so for the first project, for Urapi, first project, we work with these co-ops in this region because it was kind of a low-hanging fruit for us. But that's what we do. We are mainly a project developer or operator, and then a small fund manager. So our experience is mostly to work with co-op to prepare project or to operate projects. So we did it for, as I said, for cooperation agency, for the funds. So we use one good opportunity to build this project, also to enable the creation of Urapi. And this project was also used as the first project of the LDN fund. So we get a lot of visibility with this project, and it was important for us to do it well. But it's a good region. It's the biggest coffee region in Peru at this moment, with a lot of co-ops, with a lot of organic and fair trade coffee. So very good baseline for us. I think we have to be able to generate the return and to reduce the risk. We have to focus on this kind of region at the beginning to show that's possible to invest private money in sustainable development.
Right. Thank you, Etienne.
And Etienne,
Etienne, and thanks, Aaron, for the question. Fabricio, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah. I want to know from Etienne, what is the potential to scale up this model and to expand not only across the Peruvian landscape, but also in Latin America? Do you see a huge potential for it? And if you see it, what is the major bottleneck to make this happen?
So the potential, it's huge, obviously, only in northern Peru. So we're working with 6 co-ops. There are more than 40 co-ops in the region, so we can scale a lot in this region. There's thousands of hectares eligible for investment. And the biggest, let's say, limitation at this moment is the risk management. So we cannot invest directly to the farmers. It's not doable based on a cost consideration. So we have to do it through the co-op. Co-op can take part of the risk. It's aligned with their interests in some point, but they cannot take a lot of risk. So that's our biggest limitation to reach thousands of hectares. Even at this moment, we're planting thousands of hundreds of trees. We're working, I think, with good results. But yeah, the potential is huge if we can work on a strategy to reduce the risk at the co-op level. And all over Peru, all over Latin America, basically.
Etienne, thanks for your response on that question. Ali, can you bring up the final slide, please? Final slide. Yeah. Okay. And while we do that, I'd like to ask all the panelists if you have some final words for this event. We'd love to hear. Let's start with you, Fabricio.
No, all I can say is thank you for your time and attention. This is a precious commodity nowadays. And thank you, Aaron and Etienne, especially to you, Etienne, that accept our invitation in the last moment. So that's it. Only thank you all.
Thanks, Fabricio. And Etienne?
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for this opportunity to share some ideas with you all. Thank you.
All right. And while I give the final word to Aaron, I would also like to ask, there were 25 participants or so indicated that you know somebody within your network that could have an interesting project for DFCD. It would be very helpful for us and hopefully also for the people that you're referring. If you can just take a minute also once we end the event to post a link or a contact in the chat box for us. That would also be very handy and we would appreciate that quite a lot. Aaron?
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, Adi, thanks, panelists, and thanks everyone who listened in for being here. I hope I didn't give you the impression that this is an easy task to merge profitability with positive impact on climate. And that's exactly why we are reaching out to you guys to seek partners to do it with us. And I hope this session has inspired you to do so. And please don't hesitate to approach us with more questions, or even better, with a tangible business case. So thanks again, and hope to see you again.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Indeed, we are very much looking forward to hearing from all of you, and especially if you have a very interesting project for DFCD. I just posted in the chat. I posted the link again. Over here, you can find the email address through which you can contact us. You'll find the information about the criteria, the themes. You will also have the recording of the previous event over here, and as a follow-up of this event, so we're also going to share the recording of this session that you've heard, along with the Q&As, the questions that you've posed as well. So all of that will be sent to you, along with a link to apply for the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development. From all of us here, also Ali and Ugna from the Holland Park media team, who are right across from me here. Thanks for helping out, and I wish you all have a very good evening, and we hope to hear from you very soon. Have a good day. Thank you.